Hello, everybody. Very, very welcome. Nice to have you here. And we have Brian, George, Jeff, and Jensen, Joseph, Paul, Peter, Chin, Sam, Steve, and Umar. And if I'm mispronouncing any names, please tell me. Okay, so everybody is welcome. Let us start. I love this chat. And in this chat, I see that you are saying hello. Okay. So what you can say is even better. You can say hello from, like in my case, Houston. Okay, wonderful. So I will share the screen. Hello, hello to Rayleigh. Okay. Okay, wonderful. I'll share the screen. Okay, and I will give you that link which you need. That's the only one that you need right here. It says this one, and on that link there is a bitly link so that you can type if it doesn't open for you. Umar, do you want my LinkedIn profile or do you want everybody else's LinkedIn profile? Mine. Okay, so I'll be happy, even though you can find it by going to LinkedIn. Mark Kirsner, there is only one more, and that's a guy in Canada, real estate. That's what he's doing. And I am here, but I'll give you that LinkedIn. And then I have accidentally created another profile. So there you are. There you are, and I will accept your invitation if you do one. Okay, very good. But very, very thank you. Very, very welcome, everybody. Because I love doing this webinar. It so happens that I started 3 years ago because I was very excited about Hugging Face. Hugging Face, in case you don't know Hugging Face, here they are. And not only here they are, I got in touch. Remember, they were selling robots, and that robot was supposed to be. It's a very very cute robot. Okay, so it's Hugging Face robot. Let's see. Was called Richie. Okay, and it was just very very cute. That's what it looks like. So I bought one. It was a spontaneous buy and a bad decision probably because I'm very bad at, with robots. But they were not even sentient yet. So I got in touch and they promised that very soon we'll have it. So supposedly you can do any kind of model with that robot. I'll definitely show it to you when it comes. Okay. So. All right. So the reason, I started because Hugging Face was the first one that made it easy. Now today you think, okay, easy, easy, but it is really still essentially machine learning to start with, right? To it in the beginning, because today you have models that are trained, billions of dollars spent, and they talk to you. And that was only the beginning, but still that with them it was very exciting, and it can be exciting. And then about half a year after I started, the ChatGPT came, and as they say, the rest is history. Okay, so what is this webinar? This webinar is about trying everything that you can get your hands on. There is an idea that whatever your hands can do, that's what you should try. Well, with the AI now, you can do it. There are stories about chat unicorn startups run by one person with AI. I think you can do it. That's what I'm going to talk about and show you a few things. So whenever I see a new interesting technology, and I see them usually once a week from the Andrew Ng newsletter. That's where I see them, but other places also work. In the end, whoever wants to learn something about ChatGPT AI and all that stuff should click on this link. Okay, I call it education, AI education. And as you can see, it has about a hundred, and by now it's even more, 109. Now, what I do is I take that course. Well, Raleigh, by the way, we have a meetup in Raleigh, and we do advertise even to them. That's why Raleigh of all places. But so first I go and listen to the course. Then I copy all the labs. To copy all the labs, you need to download and a few little tricks, but you can do it. And that's where you have your my own GitHub repository. That's how that all works. And then some people on my team also verify that. Lately, nobody really verifies it, but we used to have it. So that's how it works. And the major thing is that you can try it. Try every technology, download it right away. That's what Jeff Dean likes to say. Jeff Dean is a very, very famous guy, in case you don't know. Then the famous thing about him is not only that he is at Google, but also that there are jokes about Jeff Dean. Okay, and there are many things you can say about that. Let's look. So Jeff Dean proved that P is NP when he solved all the non-NP problems in polynomial time on the whiteboard. Now, those people who know NP means very, very hard, and he solved all of them. Another example is Jen Dean's pin is the last digits of pi. All right, everybody knows that there is no such thing as the last digits of pi, but that's not a joke. There are ways to meditate and imagine that you came to the infinity and try to see those numbers. Okay, we're going too far away from where we started. So Jeff Dean is the one who told the world this idea. When you see anything interesting, you download it. Download it, try it, and that's what I'm doing. Here you are. Now, today we're going to do something very specific. Number one, I call your attention to this replay. Now, I will click on it just to verify. Yeah, that's a paper. That's a paper that asks how people really use ChatGPT, but that is a replay. So if you click on that, maybe it will want you to register. That's a small price to pay. What's important about this is that it is from the horse's mouth. Uh, ChatGPT is definitely the largest AI application in the world. They are used by tenth of the humanity on the regular basis, and they have the visibility into really how people use it. They do automation. They, as they mentioned, they don't read your messages, but instead they automatically anonymize it and then classify. So honestly, nothing surprised me about that. The reason I talk about this is because it's not that I hate journalism, but there are problems with that. With journalism is that it concentrates on today and very often on the wrong understanding. Well, for a change, that's the right understanding. You cannot go wrong if you have absolutely all the numbers, and besides, you're a data scientist who really knows how to analyze, and not just I woke in the morning, which is a great blues, but not such a great source of truth. All right, that's number one, just offer to your attention. Number two and number three are new courses. So first course is MCP with Box. So what is Box? Number one, Box is a well-known company. It's that company, like I think more people probably know uh, Dropbox. but the same idea, except that this company is more for the enterprise application as opposed to, let's say, Dropbox. I would say it's more consumer. So what do they publish? They publish a course how to use them. Essentially, that's what it is. That's a popular fashion nowadays to create MCP. What is MCP? Well, let's look at what is the MCP protocol so that I don't invent. The idea, I think, was invented by um, Antro- Anthropic, but it took off, and it's a model context protocol that is there just like uh, just like all web became connected with a RESTful interface. So it seems like that's the same, at least in the minds of the designers. The idea is that model context protocol will serve as an open standard for you to talk to AI. And everybody now says, hey, you should use that. And in particular, right here, that's the course, this one. Box guys tell us how you can talk to their AI. And what does it mean? That doesn't really mean they have another model. And that means that you can use any model, but you'll be within confines of the box. So essentially, they're just telling you how to program interfacing with their documents in this, as they advertise, safe environment, and that's what's great about it. So it's a popular, who knows if that will be the only one, as opposed to RESTful, which did become the world standard. That is yet to come. I will show you exactly what it means. Now I see the chat here. Okay, can you discuss agent that implementing MCP and with or without? I'm not sure I get exactly the question, but yeah, thank you very much for answering. Okay, so if I don't answer right away, then let's still continue conversation. But okay, I wanted to show you. So in order to show you that, I'll have a link. That's the explanation of what they do. There is the link. Okay, what they do is this. Why do you need the whole, what's this box, what's this MCP server? So that I showed you. I said Box is a company, and they are about enterprise data and files sharing, maybe not only files, but databases, let's say. And if you don't use them, okay, what happens if you don't use them is that what you want is very fast, extensible, secure, and if you don't do it, if it's your own implementation, then you will have a lot of things to implement. So without the MCP, you do the connections between every application and every data source. With the MCP, so you're looking at M times N. And if you are using MCP as an idea, but of course, if you're doing Box, you have to use theirs, then it's M plus N, which is much less. That's the major attraction. Now, you don't have to use it at all if you are not in Box, and you don't have to use it if you're only building one. But if you're building multiple applications, that's how you would do it. Well, practically what you get is then they promise that it is fast. Well, just because you use their interface, and extensible, again using their interface, and secure for the same reason. Now it's published on GitHub, so you can look at what it is. You can see it's not humongously popular. It's 5 people watching, and that's a picture that I made yesterday. So 21 forks and starred. But they already published the course and published it with Andrew Ng. So could be that it will be much more popular. Let's do one very simple experiment. Let's connect. Okay, So that's a repo. Oh, I probably have it here. Yeah, that's the link. So let's note 52157. I wonder, the course came out just yesterday. What do we have? 524 and 63. So a little bit more, but not millions as yet. Okay, that's what I wanted to show about them. And I think that is, if you're into those things, that is incentive enough to for you to go and maybe look at the course. So it teaches you how to operate on their files if you are dealing with the box implementation. Also, of course, it will teach you in general how to do such things, not a specific implementation. But that is what is interesting today, that companies who want to advertise their products, essentially, they come to Andrew Ng, and it goes, I've seen 100 of them, that goes in the standard way. Andrew Ng explains why you would want to use that technology, and they say, yes, Andrew, we're very happy and excited to be here, and then they go into explanations. So that's what the explanation is. That's the course itself. If you click here, that's the course. Why don't we share the screen again, but now this time with the... This time I want to share it with the sound. So stop share, share it with the sound. No, not viral lens, right? That's, I agree. But so what? It has its interesting points, and if we are here, let's let's listen to this course. This course is mine.
Welcome to Build AI Apps with MCP Service, working with Box Files, built in partnership with Box. In this course, you learn best practices for using MCP Service, illustrated by an example of processing unstructured PDF invoices to store extracted fields, such as the client name, invoice amount, and product names into database. The invoices will be stored in a Box folder, and you learn how to use the Box MCP server to interact with files. I'm delighted the instructor for this course is Venkus, who is CTO at Box.
Thanks, Andrew. I'm excited to work with you on this course.
MCP, or Model Context Protocol, standardizes the way you provide context to an OM-based application. Instead of writing custom integrations inside your AI applications to interact with external systems or data sources, you can connect your applications to MCP servers and thereby automatically extend the set of tools available to your LLM. For example, Box's MCP server provides a set of tools to interact with files and folders such as file search, text extraction, AI-based querying, and data extraction for your data stored in Box.
Okay, you see what it is about. Exactly. I can close that. And it's not easy. These courses, they're not teaching you the basics. It's rather an application that they're teaching you. And I have to admit, they are not easy. That's all you need for that. The next one is a new idea. Okay, API discovery. It's like that. Let's say you want to build a new AI application. All right. And let's say you want to use existing APIs, and often complicated APIs, but you're a programmer, lazy by nature, and you don't want to figure out all those APIs. Well, call in AI and it will figure it out for you, and they promise that it will do the right thing. Now, of course, we're dealing with a big enterprise application. Otherwise, you could figure out. But let's say we're talking about you want to order, in that case, 5 pencils. But you didn't know that before you order these 5 pencils, you need to go through 5 approvals of different people. That only AI can handle. All right, that's an example of why would you use it. Again, and that's a practical application. I found it very challenging, but I like challenge. Where is the challenge? I'll show you. Okay, what they do is use knowledge graph. In other words, Gone are the days where you would drop your good information files into a private repository or some place, and from there feed it to AI, and that was called would be called RAP, right? RAP is RAG, sorry, retrieval augmented generation. In other words, instead of just talking to ChatGPT, you are also giving some additional information, all in the form of text. So what we want is more understanding, more complexity. And instead of giving it the text, we're giving our also text boxes, but organized as a graph. That's what it is. Now, once you do this, you realize that everything is a graph in the world. And not only you have to implement your RAG, but also your graph that contains your RAG. Example, let's say you search, that is a quote from SAP. You can imagine that's a humongous, I think one of the 10. So the 10 largest, maybe a little dated fact, the 10 largest software providers are in the US, except for SAP, uh, which Bill Gates praised as being kind of Microsoft type of company. Okay, back. So, as an example, what they do is let's search for SAP. Well, you get back a Google page. Well, that Google page has structure. It has customer service number, headquarters, and all of that. So you can organize it. It's information that's ready to be put into a graph, and then to say it's a customer service entry and node of the graph. And what's next to it? Well, headquarters, and now you organize by meaning and by connection in the graph. So let's go on and let's look at Waldorf, and it turns out to be the headquarters of this company, and you can put all of that in the graph. Now, when you do this, and I think I will have to teach that soon, so I'm refreshing my knowledge. There is a way to describe the graph by saying where I start, where I go, how I go, and where do I connect to. That is essentially a graph. But there are couple different ways to represent the graph, and they are using RDF, which means Resource Description Framework. What's good about that approach is that it's well developed and it's been around. It has a language called Sparkle with a Q, and that's a language similar to SQL. By the way, it's called also SparkQL. So that you know it's a standard, you are learning something that's a good thing to learn. So there you're learning something that really is good to know. Plus, you are getting an application. So you build it, you expect to code all the information this way. And of course, AI will help you do it. And then they go through that. Did you ever work with the German company to enjoy their software? It will be very, very structured. I'm not very surprised that they chose this graph structure to explain how to work with them. But they do teach, as you know, generic knowledge in the process. That's what they do. What is an example? Here's an example. We start, of course, from the center of the universe, SAP, and then we add attributes to that, and more attributes and more connections. In the end, you get a graph. And that is the knowledge that you need if you want to implement something in the SAP, which will be an enterprise application where you will have to figure out how to order 5 pencils. And that is the what you say. In other words, that's what you see, and that is what you say. Okay, so that's the graph how you build it, and now you can leash or unleash the AI against that. You can construct this graph from any of the three approaches. It can be structured with a schema, or semi-structured with a flexible schema, or not structured. Everything will work, and in the end, that's what you will do. That's harder than talking to ChatGPT, but it's useful and good knowledge. That's why KG, knowledge graphs, are useful, and that's the difference that they make. That's what you can have with regular LLM because it doesn't have the context where to connect and what the knowledge graph can give you. So it gives you scope. Scope is what are the other elements on the graph that are close to mine element. It gives you understanding of the main logic. Well, you start thinking about this, and you need to know the rules, not just what the text told you. So that's where knowledge graphs help. Then you can handle more complicated tasks like ordering five pencils, and of course, they will praise themselves for having trust. That is the second part that I wanted to show you. What I will do now is I will stop my share and look at the questions and answers that came up here on the chat. Okay, nothing special. Well, everything is special, but nothing that requires immediate answer. So we're good. We can share again. And the next is Kiro. Okay. So, first of all, one interesting thing that I should mention is that it seems like the theory that AI is here to help, it's not fighting against you. It's the people who operate it maybe are fighting against you. It's true. It seems it's true, and it helps to learn AI, and it helps to be a partner with AI. Sometimes AI needs help from you, sometimes the other way around. So I'm working. I'll show it again. I showed it already, but I'll show you again that I'm working on the general idea that people need to know as much about AI as they can. And whatever you listen to, whatever you work with, you get the same idea. So, what we created is, first of all, the general idea. I call it PI, partner with AI. But then, more specific, we have a little slide deck where we go to universities and tell them, guys, you want your students to be employed after you graduate. So why don't you let us help them? That is, of course, blowing your own horn, right? But I think it's right. So in a simple approach, I should show it. Download. Downloads. Okay. In a simple way of looking at things, no, I don't mean the new slide, sorry. I meant slideshow. It's the fact that, yeah, people are losing jobs. It seems like proven, and we even know how many jobs were lost. And therefore, well, let's look at why AI is cutting us out and how we can. Don't fight it, partner. People have something about them. They're thinking, they have judgment. That all implies that you are training yourself to excel at thinking and at judgment. But that's where AI porting needs help from you. That's the idea, and then we are flexible in what I understand. That's really pipe dreams going pretty broad. Will help you if your university help a corporation, but right now it seems like people need it. So that's what I wanted to show you, and your input is very, very welcome. And also here is a more formal way of describing it for the universities. So, students don't find jobs sometimes, and That's what you need. You just need to work with AI, and then you'll be back. And there are stories about the new, fresh, and inexperienced people actually doing better than the not older but more experienced. That's what I want to show, since it comes to that every time. But back here, Kiro. So last time what I did, I didn't even know how to start Kiro. I just got uh, the key, right? But now I know one thing you need to do is go to your project. Okay, so I'm going to my projects, and in my projects, I'm going to the place where my project is. Okay, that's my project. Okay, so I have my project, and I started Kiro like that. So Kiro is from Amazon. It's powered by Anthropic. We know that Anthropic is quite popular among programmers, and that it is praised by them. So I think Kiro is rough on the edges, as they say, but at the same time, it combines the design, the support from Amazon, and Amazon is partnering with Anthropic, and okay, and that's where the magic is, on the right here. So on the right, I ask any question that I need. For example, I decided to move that application to Docker. So I say, how do I start Docker? And I talk in very general terms. I'm saying, build an application that will be for e-discovery. And it knows all of that. It knows e-discovery. It knows all of that. I'm telling you, that's where the old code is. I'm telling you that's where the old code is. You'll figure it out. But my old code, the minute I started working with AI, I realized that you cannot continue with my old design, because I started with Swing, because that's all I knew at that time. And many people tell me you should really go to the web browser interface. Makes sense, but it was always too much work and no real output. Well, I realized that without the modern architecture, I can't even use AI. I asked it, how can I run it? Okay, how can I run an old Swing app and use AI at the same time? Well, if I ask this question, it will come up with some suggestions, right? You can do it, you can. It talks about both UIs because it already created a web browser AI. It was very easy. It took it like 5-10 minutes. Would take me who knows how many months. And it says you have your old Swing, but you also have the new web AI, which we just did for you. So yeah, you can do it together. But I realized that all all blocks are off. I just asked for a new interface and I got it in 5 minutes. I realized that I don't quite know what's next. So I said, you know what? I know a good application. Can we study their database and just reuse that? And yeah, it did it. It said that's what they published on the web. By the way, I'll tell you everything they've done, and that's public. All right. So I said, just do it. Get that database implemented for me. Okay. Did we start the application yet? Well, we can stop that, and we can say, uh, well, how do I start the UI? Okay. How do I start the UI? Okay, it just says start UI. Let's try that. So here we are. So it said UI, and then what? Start all. Okay, it says I'm starting. And that's what it took a long time to do. And now it does have some problem. So usually you copy paste and tell it what to do. But by now, I think I have that working. And it says go right here. Well, let's try it. I also remember that port. Yeah, it did the application. Look, that's amazing. And it kind of works. I can even create stuff, a new project, and so on. That's all I wanted to show. After that, you just tell it what you want. So what you really need to think is ask yourself a big question: what I'm doing in the whole picture? What is AI? Where does it need me? And where do I need it? That's a very good question. Meanwhile, I have a practical approach of what to do, where to do research, and I just love it. So I'm using Kiro. My friends are using Claude Code, which is very similar. And there are other approaches, 3 or 4. That is what I really wanted to show is, yeah, look, it's working now. If you don't know any technology, like I think I did it with Python, and I said, I have a script that starts all support services, but that seems like an old approach. Could we do this? Could we put it into Docker? I heard Docker is the right way to go, and it created the Docker. It told me that's what you need to start it. So, yes, I'm enjoying it. I think there is a lot more you can do every day. I discover something new. At that point, I really want to look at your comments. So I'm doing this. I'm opening the chat. And are you trying to utilize it for social media data? It, what is it? So, okay, so Steven is asking a question, but isn't knowledge graph is only useful? So I noticed that there are a lot of you think yes, if you need to do it yourself, yes, but if you either have the information or you know how to build a knowledge graph, then it becomes very useful. It's just more learning. That's what you need to do. Yeah, you just have to brush up. But I would say no worries because I just showed you how you don't have to have complete understanding. All you need to do is put it inside of some AI tool and it will add the knowledge that you're missing. So you can build this knowledge graph in many environments out of free text or structured text. Yes, it didn't take off completely. The world didn't become a structured web, but it's quite useful in its application. Not only that, I noticed that there are a few people here that do use this approach. So I'm closing that, but I need to go to the browser. Let's go to the education. Quite a few of them. So you have SAP using API discovery where you're just lazy to read the 1,000 definitions of the APIs and you're allowing AI to do it. Another one is working with box files, but that's not the only one. I've seen that now agentic, that's what I will show. It's built on Neo4j. Again, Neo4j is not as popular as, let's say, NoSQL, but it's useful. So it is a somewhat limited. It's not a generic, but look, even in quantum computing, it's not a general computer, but in some places it's really great. So I would say yes, it is useful, Stephen. KG is useful, and that's where, if you search here, you will see quite a few graph entries. Here, knowledge graphs for RAGs. Yeah, that's before. That's the previous edition of what they wanted to advertise, Neo4j, and that's the LangGraph. Now, LangGraph is not graph, not at all. But many people still their thinking is influenced by graphs. Okay, that's what I wanted to see. You disagree. In general case, structured domain. Okay, I like the discussion, yes. Outside domain is like pharma. So let's say at least there, at least in pharma, let's say to start with, we know it's not useless, right? There are areas where it can be useful. What they add is that they add a way to convert things into knowledge graph. If you can, then you can use them. I will say that's in a separate discussion that deserves its own introduction. So, Stephen, you can be the devil's advocate. You can say it's useless. And Paul, you're saying it's useful in some areas. And if we go here, and let's discuss how useful are knowledge graphs, all right? So for that, I'll do this. Next time that we meet, I'll do that. Next time will be 26. How useful really are knowledge graphs? And, okay, sorry to do this, but I will put, I looked at the OpenAI Codex poll and it just didn't work to me. And then AI ChatGPT kept saying, you know what, you're not ready to open AI. You should stay with me. I'll go back. But Paul, are you saying that's for knowledge graphs also? So, Stephen and Paul and Mark. Now, I'm not forcing you, okay? Instead, I'm just suggesting that if you want to be part of the discussion, well, let me know. And if not, I'll just present my point of view, okay? But we will do it next time, all right? Okay, and we will look at the OpenAI Codex and others. So something to look at, but let's rather discuss it next time because we're definitely not beginning this conversation now. And besides, so I showed you knowledge graphs for API, which I agree it's a very specific application, ordering 5 pencils. Kiro works, but I also promised LangGraph. So where was this LangGraph? It was 83. Okay, let me try it. Let us go into projects, open ES AI Labs, and then 83. Okay, that's agentic with LangGraph. The only thing is that it didn't run last time, and now it should. So the way to run it will be like this. You go into, let's say, oh, I have my environment. So all you need to do is cat how to do it. And that's the only command I really need out of there. Paste. So here we're not about knowledge graphs, but we are about building something agentic. Why not use a specific framework and not just throw that term around? And all you need to do is set up the environment and run a lab. And this time I promised that it would work. So here you are. Let's do it. Let's go here. And I'll run only the first two because it goes a little bit harder later on. They also add more. They add search. They add search with keywords and search with knowledge base, and then they can ask questions. But let's go to L1. That's the very first lab. So we'll just see what it's doing. It's using what they call react, reason and then act. It's kind of think before you act, but it has a specific implementation. All right. So what we do is connect to AI and say something about that. Hello world, and see that it will talk back to us. But then we'll put it into the loop and becomes agentic in the sense that it reads its own output, waits for maybe my additional output, and shows its reason, shows how exactly it's thinking. And it's talking about how much do the dogs weigh, but it shows you that there is an interaction. You can ask questions, and you can have its agentic, meaning that it will keep thinking and acting based on the previous results. That is what is interesting, and I'll show you one more, and I will invite you. Okay, that is number 2, right? I will invite you to just clone this repository and run it. Ask me anything that you need to make sure that it works. Let's see, does it work even with Tavily? That's a search component. Yes, it does. And then it goes into more and more building of the agents, and it shows you exactly what it does and how. So on that one, I'm not going into any depth other than telling you that yes, it works. You can clone that, and unlike the movie that they show you, well, movie, it's a recorded class, so it works on your computer, not on any other computer. Here we are. That's what I wanted to show, and here we have to stop. It's a lot of fun, but we'll have to continue next week. So what I want to do, right. I like that conversation. It's wonderful over there. I'm just saying questions and maybe suggestions for the next time. Okay, if not, I wish you guys a great weekend, a wonderful Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and a great year ahead. Now, Steven, I like that idea. I take that idea and I retitle it, in which the means it does or doesn't work. And please don't despair. I will answer the other questions as well. But first, that's a subject, so to say. But I had A question. Thank you, Steve. Yes, I do share the video. It will come up. I'll show you where it is right now. But there was a question here. Can you share this document? So the only thing that you really need is that. So that is what you need, and then you open. After that, all the links are here. This document, which shows you all the labs, it's right here. And this is what we are doing today. That's also right here. So everything is here. Let's start for that link, and we'll be good. Okay, I can give you the link directly. No, sorry. That link. All right. So all the best. Thank you, and see you next time. Thank you.